Um, all right. So
Meeting.
who knows where we stopped yesterday? Who knows where we stopped yesterday?
Uh, Hello. Okay.
Who knows where we stopped yesterday?
I missed the session yesterday.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, guys. I haven't really uploaded last yesterday's session, but I'll do that after this one. Okay. So that for those that missed out. I think only Hyson was there yesterday. Okay. Anyhow,
Hello, you said?
we got to. Let me just go ahead. We did number three yesterday. We did this thing. Okay, so we talked about making a list of um things. So from your simple result sentence, we said after you defined your goal to a simple result sentence, you write it down. That was it for yesterday. Then yesterday we now said you break your simple sentence into small tasks. Okay. And for GitHub that's called issues. And after you've done that, so that's what we drilled on yesterday. How to break your idea into small tasks called issues. And we talked about issues. We talked about label for your issues and description for your issues, basically. So that was most of what happened yesterday. Then today's is about organization. Okay. All right. So you've gotten your idea. You've gotten the thing, your project, whether from a client or from your team lead or it's your personal project, and then you've resolved it to a simple sentence, simple enough for a non-tech person to understand, and you've written it down somewhere that you can't help but remember.
Hello?
Okay. The next thing now, and then you've broken it down into small steps. Okay, such that you could measure your progress. That's another thing that breaking it down into small steps does for you. So that you can measure your progress. You know, okay, this is what I've completed, this is what I've not completed, this was left, this is what I worked on yesterday, and all of that. So after you've done that, the next thing you want to do is you want to organize those small steps that you've broken it down to. So you might have like, let's say for a project, you have like 10 issues. So the purpose of organization is to know where to start and where to stop. Okay. So this is going to be a very short session. So hopefully we'll end before 6. So okay, when you're organizing, you want to organize based on sequence and priority. Okay, so what do I mean by sequence? By sequence, I mean the order in which things happen. Okay, so just a simple example. Um, you will definitely know that your register and login page, if you're that's a front end project, will definitely come before your user dashboard. Okay, so based on a sequence, you will definitely put in your organization, you definitely put um your login page and your registration page before your user dashboard. Okay, so that's what sequence is. So that's one thing to consider when organizing your issues. You have a couple of issues, then you now have to say, okay, which one comes first, which one. And most times, one thing that can help you in organizing by sequence is you say which one is dependent on the other. So the one that so it's more like um it's more like what's the word now? An algebraic expression. Yeah. Sorry, equation. So it's like dependent variables and independent variables. So the ones that are um dependent variables, the ones that Yeah, the ones that are dependent variables, the ones that require others to happen before them, the one that like are derivatives of another will definitely come later. And the ones that are independent variables will definitely come first. You get, because those independent variables they require those dependent variables depend on the independent variables to actually get to work. Doesn't make sense. Hello guys, doesn't make sense. Okay, am I talking
Yeah,
to myself? Hello guys.
it's making sense. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so there's a
Yeah, I can hear.
second criteria to base your second criteria to base your. Okay, Victor said you're good. A second criteria to base your um organization on, and that's based on priority. Okay, so based on priority, you want to consider which one is more important, okay, than the other. So for example, now I always in my when I'm doing stuff, when I'm designing or programming, most times it's a full stack project. There's front end and there's back end. Um, I always put function above design. Okay, and I don't know many of you. I really value design. If you see some of my projects, I always like try to as much as possible make my design really aesthetic and stand out. But beyond that, it has to work first. If your job, if your client gives you a project or your team lead gives you a project or you're working on a personal project and it's very fine, it's very aesthetic and all, but it doesn't do what it says it's gonna do, then nobody's really gonna care so much. Okay. Reminds me of Facebook. When they came out initially, they were not it wasn't a fine Facebook was not a fine site. Even like before they redesigned and used React from ground up, it wasn't really fine. It was mostly people's pictures and the adverts that made you look kind of attractive. But before that it wasn't really fine. But it worked. Okay, it connected people and that's why people kept on coming back. So when you're working on projects, you always have to prioritize functionality above design. You always have to prioritize functionality above design. That's one thing you definitely have to prioritize functionality above design. Okay. So you want to really something like how can I give an example? So let's say you're done with login page and animation is something I like to transitions animations something I really like to add to my work. Let's say you're done with the page and then our advice when you're working on a front end project, really just do all the design first before you add animations because it saves you a lot of time. Okay. So the client already sees something that works and something he can interact with and he can say, or your team lead, and then you can now say, okay, we want this thing to animate like this when you click on this, or when you hover over this, or when you do ABCD, EFG, that kind of thing. So keep transitions for later. In this order, functionality comes first, then the look, then before the experience. So functionality, the user interface before you begin to about user experience. Okay, so yeah. So there are some times where, and it doesn't happen really often. There's sometimes where most times functionality, sequence is not equal to. Oh, forgive me. I'm supposed to use priority here, not functionality. So sometimes sequence is most times sequence and priority are not the same. Okay. But a few times there are times where you have to like really consider sequence and priority. Um, for example, if I can get a good example, sequence and priority. Okay. Let me see. Okay, for example, now you want to do, let's see, back to that e-commerce store I started with, the one I'm working in. So you want to do most times like when the guys that will upload, the sellers, the ones that will upload products, they will usually do that from their user end. Um, and then there will be a place to display their products. Okay, but on
Sorry,
the
please,
homepage,
can
they're
others turn
supposed
down
based
their...
on. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, Favor, are you saying something?
Hello.
Yeah, Favor, I can hear you.
Really affecting me. Yeah. They should others should turn off
But I can barely
their
hear you. You can
speaker.
type.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, please just type what you're saying. It's like really low.
Turn off the speaker.
You can type what you're saying. That'll be nice. So guys, if you're trying to say something, just type it. I'll see it in the chat section. Okay. So as I was saying, like a place for the users, for the buyers and sellers also to see products they've uploaded. Now the uploading happens in the user section, which the user section comes after the home page, after the login and register page. Okay, and then the product display is supposed to happen after you've uploaded product. That's when you now want to see those products. Okay, but you can't put that product. Okay, now understand this. That's catalog page that shows all these uploads comes after that. But then that's based on sequence, yeah? That's based on sequence. But also now when you're doing your homepage, you want to have a section that says that shows some of the products that are already available on the site. So based on what is now important, that catalog, it's no more like a catalog page now that will have filter and all those things now, but it's more like a catalog view that will now appear on the home page. So based on sequence, this thing is supposed to come like much later. But now based on priority, it has moved from like after the user gets to upload stuff, it has now moved to come around the time of the homepage. So I don't know if you guys get what I'm saying. Does that make sense, guys? Hello? Does that make sense, guys? Okay, but I just said it makes sense. Okay. Alright then. So that's priority and sequence. Okay, so I've said this is going to be a short one, a very short one. Okay, so take away from this is whether you're working on a team or you're working as an individual, there's something GitHub has called milestones. Okay, you know what? Since we have the time, I think I will just go to GitHub so we can see this thing. GitHub.com. Let me open. I'll share my screen in a bit, the GitHub screen, but let me try and open a project I'm currently working on that has milestones. Okay, so okay, so there's this new screen I'm sharing now.
Thank you.
Can you guys see the new screen I'm sharing, a browser screen? Wow, just do that. Okay, so on this screen now, if you click on this issue section and you come down to milestones, you see milestones here. You see that I have like 3 milestones. Okay, so one thing that I'll explain this. One thing that GitHub allows you to do aside for categorization, aside labels, is milestones. So it's like setting is under is some other type of categorization where you be like normally I just do down to three categorizations, no matter the project I'm working on. I just categorize them into three. So there's like the first part, there's the middle, and then there's the end. Anything that I didn't do at the beginning and at the end. Excuse me, anything I didn't do in the beginning and at the middle, I now get to do at the end. So with milestones, okay, so we have sprint one, sprint two, and sprint three are the names of these milestones. So these are this is my naming convention for milestones. I usually just call the first milestone sprint one, second milestone sprint two, third milestone sprint three. So the thing here is to, like I said, some other form of categorization. So basically things you need to get started with. You've made your list, you've shared them based on sequence and priority. You now say, okay, based on sequence and priority, this is are the things you now divide them into three. So based on sequence and priority, these are the first things I need to get started with. When I get started with it, these are things I need to build upon, and these are things I need to close off with. You get that kind of thing. So the beautiful thing about milestones is we'll still talk about deadlines. I think deadlines is after, yeah, deadline is after organization. But let me just say this about deadlines, about milestones. Milestones are like short-term goals inside your overall goal. Okay, so yeah, it helps you, like it's still just like what issue does. It helps you keep track and say, okay, this is what I worked on today, and this is what I'll continue from tomorrow. Milestones like helps you. Some people they get bogged down by when they think something really big, they're like overwhelmed. They're like, God, when will I finish this? But when you look at it one milestone at a time, it helps you like get it helps handle that. So you're not looking at, oh, this very big project. You're looking at it as one step at a time. Like, okay, this is sprint one, this is sprint two, this is sprint three. You get, and that way it also even helps with if it's a client job, a freelance job. You can now tell your clients based on this sprint. You share when you share your definitely your client should have access to the repo. He's paying for it. You can now say, okay, this is sprint one, this is sprint two, this is sprint three. So based on this sprint, this is so after when we're done with sprint one, this is how much you pay me. This is when we're done with sprint two, this is how much you pay me. And when we're done with sprint three, and you now pay me the rest of the money. So you can also help you plan your payment, help you plan your payment plan for a client. Okay. So by the time you look into all the things you need to do to get sprint one done, how much it costs and everything. You now say, okay, this is how much it take for sprint one, and then this is how much it take for sprint two, and then this is how much it take for sprint three. So they can also help you um plan your payment. Just 1 second. Okay, so that's that about sprint and milestones. That's about either you call them Google sorry, GitHub calls them milestones, so milestones, but a couple of people call them sprints. And that's why I name mine. I name my milestone sprint. So sprint one, sprint two, sprint three. And the aim here is do not overdo this. Do not make your sprints like 10. That's what issues are for. You notice the safe bet is just to keep them at 3. Okay. So if you see your milestones as like getting maybe up to 10 when you do your organization, most likely
Yes,
your
sir.
most likely it's like those 10 things you listed are most likely issues. Okay. So it's best to just keep them at 3, your milestones. Yeah, so that's that. Um yes, that's that. So you organize your list, you've made your issues. Okay, so if you can see, let me just you organize your issues. So okay, let me just show you. For this project, I have like 41 open issues. Okay. Like these are the tags I mentioned earlier. Can you guys see my screen? I want to believe you guys can see it. It shows that I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So these are the tags I mentioned earlier. See there's bug. I added this one, I added them front end and enhancement. I added this one to myself. Okay, enhancement is there. Is this front end I added? and this design I added by myself. They're like 41 of them. We'll come to pull requests in a bit. Okay. For those that don't know what it is. So 41 issues, 3 milestones. Yeah, so you've done your listing. You now organize them based on milestones. And that way it's easier for you to also track. Okay, guys. So that. I think that's all we have for today. That's all we have for today. Okay. All right. So I think we can just go ahead with the question and answer session right now. So we're having to end and then come back later. At least for tomorrow. All right. So does anybody have any questions for me? I don't know what's up with my audio. I can't hear you guys except you shout. If it's pretty low, I'll check what that is about after this call. All right. So any questions for me? If you have a question, just go ahead and type it. If you have a question, just go ahead and type it. Anybody have a question about TFC or what we talked about today? Okay, you said Victor says your issue has your milestones attached to it. Was that done with labels? Okay, so Victor, how this works is the labels don't really have anything to do with milestones. Okay, so when you create issues, you add labels to them. Then let me switch back to that screen. So okay, sorry, I have so many tabs open. Okay, yeah, that's it. Okay, so this is it. So if you observe, these are issues, 41 of them. Hello guys, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, so your issues have my issues have labels to them, but these milestones now, I'll click on it, then I'll open it up. So let's just open milestone 2 or milestone 3, for example. Okay, so open milestone 3, they're like there's a date. Okay, we'll talk about deadlines tomorrow. So, and then these are the issues. Let me just open one issue up, a new tab. So this is an issue now, and you see in this section you have labels. Okay, there's a little description for what the issue is about. You can always edit it using Markdown. The language used here is Markdown. So if you're working in a team, which this project has a team to it, so I can assign people to this issue. Okay, then labels, like I mentioned the other time, like there are a good number of them. You see them down here. So now for milestones, okay, there's also projects. I mentioned project on the first day we started. So the milestone thing is down here. Okay, so when you create an issue, you can now add, it's separate from labels is up. Labels is up here. Okay. You can, if you click on this label design and you open the new tab, you see a list of all the issues that have this label. Okay, so all the issues that have design label, these are them, these are all of them. Okay. But based on, like, this is now like milestone, this issue is on milestone 3. Okay, so it's like labels are separate and milestones are like separate. Okay, it's like labels are for more like identification. So you can say, okay, this is a design issue. This is an issue. This is an issue that has to do with design. An issue that has to do with, that is a bug. Okay, an issue that is that has to do with function, or like maybe front end or back end. But for milestones, it's like, okay, this is like the first part. It's like the second part. This is like the final part. So there will still be issues. The issues that are bugs. There could be issues, excuse me. There could be issues that are bugs, but then they fall into the first part, or maybe the second part or the third part. So they are like totally mutually exclusive. I think that's the word. They're just very mutually exclusive. So I don't know, Victor, did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did.
All right. Great stuff. Glad I could answer that. Okay, anyone else question? If you're just joining us, we're done with today's session and we're now in the question and answer part. I will upload the video. I think, let me just start uploading yesterday's one now. So that I will upload our session after this, okay? So you can watch if you missed it. Okay, anybody else has question? Okay, nobody has questions. Okay, if nobody has questions, I think we can call it a day. I think we can call it a day if no one has questions again. Okay, so one thing to understand about this whole 30 deficit thing, like I mentioned earlier, this week is for just learning about the 7-by-8-step method to achieving your goals. It's very important to really get these things to understand them, so that when we start working on your project, these are things that really help you to move really fast, okay, and really complete that project like way before your deadline. Okay. So it's one thing that we developers that is really tempting to do. You get a project and we just want to rush into it, but that most times doesn't get things done. It's important to just like really settle down and then have things spelled out before going into the project. So that's what we're trying to do now before we actually get things started. Okay. All right, guys. If nobody has any questions, I think we can call it a day. Thank you guys for coming again. Between yesterday and today has been like really a hell of a time for me. So I noticed I really didn't even send the link out on time and all of that. I'll definitely make up for all of that today. Okay, between now and the next meeting. All right, so I'll upload everything. Then the task for yesterday and the task for today will come up at the same time. So just watch out for that drive folder that I shared. Is anyone that doesn't have access to the drive folder? Is anyone that doesn't have access to the drive folder?
Yes, I don't.
Who doesn't have access? I sent.
Yeah, I can. Yes. Hello?
I sent you don't have access to drive folder. Okay, let me just. Who else? Does anybody else doesn't have access to drive folder?
The folder I have is the folder that contains participants, that has participants. I don't know if that's the folder.
That's the folder. The name of the folder is participants.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's the folder. Listen, what's your address? What's your email address again?
onikuhighsense@gmail.com.
Okay, so you have access. I'll just share my screen with you just now. Are you seeing your email here?
Yeah, it's that one.
Yeah, so you have access. Just go to your this thing.
My
You know what?
mail.
Let me just paste the link in here in the chat section so that it's in your mail, yeah. But I just shared the link
Okay.
on the chat section, so just in case you haven't seen it. All right, guys, any more questions? You said?
I'll go and check it out after now.
Okay, that's really cool. Anyone else?
Hello?
Anyone else? Question?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
All right, I think that's all for today. Is somebody asking something? Oh, Kelechi has a question. Kelechi, we can see. Kelechi, we can see you. Okay, so what is your question? Yeah, I really don't know why we can hear you. Maybe it's a network or something. Or just go ahead and type your question. Okay, so the task, this link I just shared now, okay, you will find the tasks there also. Okay. So let me share my screen again to show you. So you see this participant folder now. So there's this folder 7.8 step. Let me just go back. 7.8 step method to achieving your goal as a developer. If you open it up, you will see. Okay, so this is day 2 session. Today is day 4 session. So yesterday's session hasn't been uploaded. I'll do that after this. So you will see. Let me just create a folder to show you how it will appear like. So you see when you go, you see day 2 session. You see day 3 session. You see day 4, which is today, day 4 session. All right. So let me do a sample with the one that is ready. So day 2 session, if you open it up, you will see the video for day 2. You also see the task. Are you seeing this form? Can everybody see this form?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Kelechi, can you see this form? Day 2 session task. Okay, yeah, you can see. So if you click on it, it will open up. Okay, to open up the task for day 2. So there's its name, email, project simple sentence. I want you to download GitHub Mobile on your phone and screenshot it and send. Okay, so it's one of the things we talked about on day 2. Then if you have any questions, you can add it, you can ask it here. Okay. And so far 3 people have responded. So Bolaji, thank you. Victor, thank you. Stanley, thank you very much. All right, so I'll do that for day 3 and day 4. And yeah, that's that. So any other? Okay. So I'm glad I could clear you up, Kelechi. Anyone else? Any other question? I'm guessing no. All right, guys. So just look out for the updates in the folder. before tomorrow's session. I really am anticipating next week when we really get started and building stuff. Okay, so that's what I'm really looking forward to. All right, guys. Thanks so much for attending today's session. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, okay, bye. Victor, bye. Victor's gone. Hyson, bye. Favor, bye.